Hey guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin. Fly to the Moon stars Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. Sparks fly between a marketing executive and a NASA official as he marks preparation for the Apollo 11 moon landing. This movie was stepping into dirty territory for me because it was going to touch on the possibility of them faking the moon landing, and I was like, you better not try to pull this off as like a real thing. And so, from my understanding, it's not based on a true story. Besides the Apollo 11 stuff. So basically, all these characters were kind of made up around just the idea of the possibility that the government faked the moon landing, which they didn't. I'm actually kind of curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think that they faked the moon landing? Do you think the Earth is flat? I swear, if I see any flat Earth. So with that, I was like, okay, if they tried to play this off as like a real thing, I'm gonna be a little upset because the idea around like making a movie around it, playing an idea with it. Towards the end, they actually do show the astronauts actually landing on the moon, but they do play with like a cool like sequence around with faking the moon landing and the real moon landing. They kind of do a cool sequence with that, and which was kind of fun and entertaining. Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson have good chemistry in the film. Definitely, they kind of do feel forced at the beginning, but they kind of like somewhat lighten up to one another, and there's some forced drama throughout the film. But overall, I kind of liked it. I was like, and you do learn some form of backstory with Channing Tatum's character, who has involvement with Apollo, the first Apollo moon launch or whatever. So like, there's definitely like some tension drama in this film, and mostly like a romance that involves the moon landing. That was a lot of fun. Just the movie is really long. There's times in this movie that does feel dragged out, and when it comes to that drama, it definitely feels like, didn't we do this already? I feel like we already did do this. And the movie had a good opportunity to show it from like maybe like some form of true story from like the director's perspective, like Channing Tatum's perspective, with the idea of like how hard it is to plan to have someone basically run this whole entire operation with just landing on the moon and with like the rocket like actually working. But they don't really touch on any of that. It's kind of like, hey, here's the workspace. We're gonna walk through it every once in a while. All right, now we got to deal with the government's approval, like their votes, and like that's kind of interesting. But your movie's basically about like, all right, we got this is the most important like mission in history is to and they do make it clear like this is really just to rub it in the Russians' face. There wasn't really any like actual motive to travel to space. I wish that they still touched into like the realistic of it, of like what actually went into it in some form. Now there's plenty of films, great films that do that, but not really touching on like from the director's perspective really, and how not really frustrating, how a big deal that this is. And like if Apollo 11 fails, it's kind of like embarrassing in some form for a guy who's in charge of everything. Like the film has its good moments, but overall the film is kind of somewhat generic. And I do want to support this movie. I like Channing Tatum, and the act, and like the acting is really well. The visuals are well done, and there's a lot of good, funny moments. But the story itself is kind of the weakening part of the film, and that's kind of like the unfortunate part of it. I'm gonna give Fly Me to the Moon a C plus. It's fine. It is a fun time, but it's something that is like a one and watch done, and you're probably gonna forget. But if you have nothing else to see next weekend in the theaters, I highly recommend you guys checking this one out. Anyway, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. And like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.